There are millions of people out there who have had more than enough of modern society, and every now and then they find themselves dreaming of a second home for humankind. A distant planet where we could build a brand new New York, a brand new Maldives, and maybe even the perfect resort paradise with no wars and no taxes. A world with oceans, a gentle and pleasant climate, mysterious scenery, and of course, just enough excitement to keep things from getting boring. Hey there, everyone! Then, suddenly, this dream started to feel a whole lot more real. In 2015, scientists discovered a brand new exoplanet. Its name might sound a bit dry, but it's called K2-18b. This planet orbits around a red dwarf star known as K2-18. That's actually where the name comes from. Pretty cool way to kick things off, don't you think? Welcome to our channel. If you haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time to do it. Alright, let's get started. A New Hope, 124 light-years away. Let's start off with just a little bit of astronomy to set the scene. Red dwarfs are the most common type of star in the entire Milky Way galaxy. They're smaller and cooler than our Sun, but they live far, far longer. Some of them can keep burning for trillions of years. The light they give off glows with a soft red hue, like an endless sunset that never fades. But these stars have a darker side too. They often release violent solar flares, blasting nearby planets with deadly levels of radiation. K2-18 is one of these red dwarfs, classified specifically as an M2.5V type star. Its mass is about 41% that of our Sun, and its radius is roughly 45%. As for its brightness, it only puts out about 2.3% as much light as the Sun. Now then, let's get back to the planet itself. What really matters here is that K2-18b lies right in the star's habitable zone. That means temperatures there could allow liquid water to exist, creating a chance for carbon and oxygen-based life to emerge. The discovery of carbon dioxide in the planet's atmosphere brought us one step closer to spotting signs of life. Then came methane, pushing us even further down that promising path. After all, here on Earth, cows alone release millions of cubic meters of methane every single day. And in 2023, the James Webb Space Telescope delivered an absolutely astonishing report. It detected possible traces of a compound called dimethyl sulfide, DMS for short. On Earth, this gas is produced almost entirely by living things like microscopic algae and tiny plant-like plankton. That's why DMS has become a major point of interest as a biomarker, a chemical sign that could point to life. So, what does all this mean? Could this place actually be humanity's brand new Eden? And believe it or not, it's surprisingly close. Just 124 light-years away. If hyperspace travel ever becomes possible, that'd practically make it our next-door neighbor. So, what do you think? Ready for a quick trip out there? Maybe go find a little plot of land and settle down for a peaceful retirement. Let's go check it out. A sea of chemical soup, not water. Okay, let's be honest. Saying, let's go find a little patch of land was a bit too optimistic. Because on this planet, there's barely any land to speak of. At least not the kind we're used to. With a size more than 2.5 times that of Earth, there might be 2 or 3 tiny islands scattered here and there. But honestly, you shouldn't count on anything more than that. On the other hand, if you're into oceans, you'll be in luck. There's no shortage of those. And we're not talking about cozy little seas like the Mediterranean. We're talking about a full-on water world that covers the entire planet. In fact, there's so much water, there might not even be a single continent at all. Well, no matter. We'll just bring a few plastic rafts from Earth and build ourselves some floating artificial islands to live on. Picture it. Endless blue oceans, drifting clouds on the horizon, and the romantic idea of an eternal voyage. Yeah, right. Dream on. The stuff out there isn't anything like the slightly salty seawater we know from Earth. Instead, it's filled with a completely alien mix of chemicals. Methane, ammonia, and a cocktail of other compounds blend together into a liquid that turns swimming into pure chemical torture. Just dipping your toe in would be enough to guarantee a nasty chemical burn. So, what else is hiding in this toxic sea besides methane and ammonia? Near the surface, you'll find massive jellyfish-like creatures writhing and pulsing all over the place. Their bodies glow with eerie shades of green and deep crimson, lighting up the water like a Christmas display gone wrong. Think it looks beautiful? Well, yeah, it kind of is. But every flicker of that light is actually a sign they're about to attack. In a flash, they strike with a swarm of tangled tentacles, trapping their prey inside a corrosive, acidic cocoon. Dive a little deeper and you'll find long, slimy creatures known as methane eels slithering silently through the water. The bubbles they exhale might be deadly to you, but for them, that's just how they breathe. They move like lightning, and when they lash out with their sharp, bony spines, they can tear flesh apart like it's made of paper. And down in the very deepest, darkest parts of the ocean, shrew monsters await. Giant shadows the size of Earth's whales glide by in total silence, hidden in the blackness. They don't have eyes, but instead they're equipped with enormous mouths lined with layers of hard, chitinous plates. They suck in seawater, filtering out plankton and, well, anything else that happens to wander too close. Archimedes never lets you down. But hey, you're a smart one. I'm sure you didn't just pack a swimsuit and a t-shirt, you definitely brought a spacesuit too. So of course, you're ready to dive boldly into that methane and ammonia soup. K2-18b is about 2.6 times larger than Earth, and it weighs in at 8.6 times the mass. That means the gravity is roughly 1.27 times stronger than what we're used to back home. So if you've been cutting back on heavy ramen and desserts on Earth and keeping your weight around 176 pounds, out here you'd already tip the scale at well over 220. And if you've been indulging like there's no tomorrow, well, better get used to your brand new title, over 330 pounds and rising. Still, here's a bit of good news. Even though we're 124 light-years away from Earth, the laws of Archimedes still apply. Which means that if you leap into this chemical soup of methane and ammonia, your hefty 100-something-pound body will still float, buoyed up like a blimp in a bath. Then again, calling this a resort-style swim would be about as accurate as calling a torture chamber a spa. Oxygen? Sorry, fresh out. Alright, so we've come to terms with the ocean situation. But how about the air? Can we at least breathe here? You cautiously crack open your helmet visor just a little and try to take a gentle breath, but there's nothing. That's because on this planet, no one's found any sign of oxygen, at least not yet. The atmosphere of K2-18b is made mostly of hydrogen, with a mix of carbon dioxide and methane tossed in. And even if there is any oxygen, it would only exist in trace amounts, barely detectable. Your lungs flail like a trapped fly smacking into glass, desperate to take in air, but no matter how hard you try, you're going to suffocate. The combo of methane and carbon dioxide is basically a poison cocktail in gas form. After just 10 seconds, the dizziness kicks in. At 30 seconds, your heart starts pounding like crazy, and swirling rings flood your vision. After a full minute, your mind shuts down, and you collapse to the ground like a lifeless plant. And in those final moments, one last thought flashes through your brain. Your mom's voice, scolding you. Boy, what'd I tell ya? Said to pack that oxygen tank proper, ain't that so? But what if, by some miracle, you actually listened to her advice? Then yes, you might just survive. But don't get too comfortable, it won't last long. Because lack of oxygen isn't the only thing trying to kill you on this world. Remember what we said about red dwarfs? They're known for unleashing powerful flares that blast nearby planets with massive doses of radiation. So even if you've got your own oxygen supply, your next problem is already coming straight for you, glowing brighter than the most brilliant sunset you've ever seen. The red stare of the star. Up above your head, something like a sun is shining down on you. Well, technically, it's not a sun like ours, it's the red dwarf star that lights this planet. At first glance, it almost seems gentle in a strange sort of way. Its light is soft and red, and there's no real heat to speak of. The air glows with warm hues, like something out of a dreamy romantic painting. But don't let it fool you, it's just an illusion. Red dwarfs are unpredictable, moody stars. They may be smaller and cooler than our Sun, but that just makes them crankier and harder to deal with. Even if it looks calm today, by tomorrow it could launch a wild flare that turns your spacesuit into a microwave oven. Ultraviolet rays, X-rays, blasts of protons, all kinds of radiation come roaring out of that star and slam straight into the planet. This world has no ozone layer, no magnetic shield, nothing to protect you. You're standing under a blood-red sky that's tearing your DNA apart, strand by strand. First, your skin starts to feel warm. Then it stings. Then blisters rise and bubble across your body. The molecules inside your cells go haywire. Your proteins warp and twist, and your enzymes spiral into complete dysfunction. Within a single day, you're no longer a visitor. You've become something else entirely. Your immune system fried, your body reduced to a motionless biological ruin. SPF 100 sunscreen? A nice Panama hat? Stylish sunglasses? Forget it. On K2-18b, those are about as useful as holding an umbrella in the middle of a nuclear blast. And if we're being generous, maybe if that umbrella is high quality and not something you ordered off Temu or AliExpress, it might help them identify your charred remains. The last supper you don't get to choose. Well, thanks to your mom's advice, you remembered to pack an oxygen tank. And since the red dwarf has been unusually calm lately, you're still alive, neck deep in that chemical soup, but alive for at least a few more days. So far, you've managed to avoid getting roasted alive by radiation. Now then, how about grabbing a bite to eat? Even death row inmates get the right to choose their last meal before the electric chair after all. But that's on Earth. Back home, nature lays out a grand buffet for us. Apples, nuts, berries, fish, meat, take your pick. Here on K2-18b, the menu's a lot simpler. Methane, ammonia, and carbon dioxide. That's it. If chemical soup sounds like your kind of dish, then bon appetit. Plants? None. Animals? Questionable at best. There's probably something living here, sure. After all, if dimethyl sulfide really exists, something must be producing it. But what exactly that something is, who knows? Considering the environment, methane, ammonia, and hydrogen, whatever life forms exist here are almost certainly not just inedible to humans, but downright toxic or lethally dangerous. So, how about the water then? Drinking from this planet's ocean would be like chugging a cocktail of ammonia water mixed with gasoline. Boiling it won't help. You'd just end up brewing yourself a nice hot cup of poisonous gas instead. You're starving. You're dehydrated. And what stretches out before you is a planet that might contain organic matter, but for humans, it's about as useful as a pile of rocks. Speaking of which, care to nibble on a chunk of granite? The nutritional value's about the same anyway. The illusion of paradise. So, what did you think of humanity's so-called new Garden of Eden? Not quite what you were hoping for? No oxygen, water that melts your skin, a sun that cooks your body, and food that's basically poison. What looked like a beautifully wrapped gift turned out to be pure hell on the inside. And for some reason, it feels like every exoplanet we look at ends up the exact same way. There is no paradise out there in space, except maybe for the one you're already standing on. Sure, exploring other planets for a day, a week, a month, or even a year sounds exciting. But if you want a place to truly live, to learn, to raise your children, and to look back on your life, then Earth is still the only home that fits. So maybe it's time we put more effort into keeping this place the paradise it's meant to be. Let's make sure Earth never becomes the kind of planet we'd want to run away from to someplace like K2-18b. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you again next time. Take care.